Hello once more, and welcome from the bright radiance and collateral light starships. It is August 20th right now. I missed last week's design diary, but I am back with what might still end up being kind of a shorter one. Because it's just been a busy 2 weeks for me, as all of these have been with the design diary. They should start getting a little more calm going forward, and maybe I'll have more to share. But I've still got some good, valuable stuff this time. I learned a lot in the past 2 weeks, just with what little design I could do. So yeah, let's start as usual with the articles. The articles are actually what kind of took a big hit this week. I usually try to read one per day, and I think I read like 2 or 3 in the past little while. But the most valuable one that I read was Nuts and Bolts number 14, Initial Ideation. Apparently, in the first quarter of each year, Mark Rosewater releases a in-depth look into how the Magic design team starts working on a set. And so I read the most recent one first, but I'm definitely going to go back and start from the beginning for another project that I'll tell you guys later in this video. Yeah, this is the initial ideation. How do you take a germ of an idea and turn it into an actual set? So very similar to what I was talking about before in my previous video about vision design. I think that's just so interesting to me right now of how do you sit down, take a look at the project ahead of you, break it into reasonable parts, and actually get started on something. Because that's the hardest part, as he points out at some point in this article. This is I think very valuable for me. No decision is far worse than the wrong decision. Don't freeze up. The wrong decision can often lead to the right one. No decision doesn't lead anywhere. So just still harping on those same values and lessons that I have been these past couple weeks of you have to do the dang thing. There's no better outcome than just actually sitting down and getting it done. It borders on a kind of grindset mentality almost. But I think what it really means is that I think of there's that one theory about alien contact or why we haven't met any other alien races, which is I think the Great Sieve is what it's called. Sieve being where you pull up a bunch of sand and you shake it out and all of the little particles fall through and all the bigger ones the shells and gold or whatever don't. The idea is that maybe all societies go through some great sieve where it might be nuclear weapons or some some big population threatening disease or something like that, and most don't make it past that point, and that's why we haven't seen any other alien civilizations, is because 999 times out of 1,000 societies don't make it past that. What does that have to do with game design? Is I think that a lot of the times people don't make it past that first point. They have a great idea, they have something really fun they want to do, but once it comes to actually writing it down and working on it, we can't actually don't have the dedication to kind of follow through. And I feel that way a lot. I always feel like I start projects and don't finish them. And I think that these initial ideation and vision design portions can really help to focus the design and make it something very manageable, very achievable. And so I'm excited to take these lessons and implement them in further projects. Another kind of article that I watched is Gavin Verhey's Good Morning Magic. He's a designer at Magic the Gathering at Wizards of the Coast. And he made a video recently about his playtest cards that he included in his, what is it called? His unknown event that he does at most Magic Cons, where he includes a bunch of playtest cards of his own design and lets people play with them, and it just seems like a really fun time. And the cards don't always actually mechanically work within the full rules of the game, but they work well enough that people can understand what they do and actually play with them in a rule zero kind of situation. And I don't have any notes on any like the particular designs that he did, but I wrote down all of these cards are so weird and off the wall. It makes me happy to see professional designers doing the same kind of stuff that I do. I love the kind of just like pushing the limits, trying to see what's possible within the game. It makes me feel better that like the designers at Magic aren't just like purely like numbers and mechanics and they're not just, how do I phrase it? There's still like an element of whimsy of like, how do we make this game as fun as possible? Let's do some top-down designs. I have this weird idea. How can I make this weird idea work? And so it's just very heartening to know that like, oh yeah, even the people who are doing this at a professional level, even if it doesn't come all the way into the actual Magic sets we see, are just kind of throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks. So yeah. The other big things of the past couple weeks, I had my first Pathfinder 2e combat practice with a few of my friends, which was a lot of fun. It's so stressful and like humbling to play a new game that is that like mechanically crunchy. It's because I really feel, or maybe felt for a long time, that I was like a 5e master. Like I just kind of understood all of the mechanics pretty inside and out. I could do whatever I wanted on the fly. Like I had a pretty solid grasp on the game, that because I was DMing it for like years. And so I started doing Pathfinder 2e because I kind of wanted a new challenge. Like that's part of what I wanted by playing this game, was like I want to feel that, like I want to get that level of understanding again, the feeling of confidence that grows over time. But I forgot that you have to start from an area of, oh boy, I do not know this game or what's going on. But I think it still ended up going very well. A lot of people came, more than I expected, so they were kind of big, long combats. I think in the whole night, people got like 2 rounds in total. So ideally, that won't be the case for actual combat. I think there will be like 3 or 4, maybe 5 people in most combats in the actual campaign. But it was very fun to see everyone get to do what they do and see how Pathfinder works. It's a really amazing system that my friend Riley commented, like everyone felt like they were doing something so different in combat, which was really exciting because 5e can feel kind of samey every once in a while. And it was really easy to build encounters in Pathfinder 2e, which was so nice compared to 5e, which is always feels like a little bit of a crapshoot whenever you're putting something together. It's like, yeah, this should all work, but the math in the monster manual or the Dungeon Master's Guide is not the most reliable thing in the world. Pathfinder stuff with like the everything scales with level, and so the CRs are all like relative to each other. Seems really great and easy to understand. I made like 5 encounters to do that night in like an hour. Yeah, it seems really great and should only get easier as they level up, because at level 1 where they are right now, I don't have access to the like -3 and -4 levels because there are no monsters that level for them to fight. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to playing around with that. The kind of other big design thing that I did this week was I worked on the spell list for my new 5e character, Allegra, because she's mostly a kind of wizard, but she's also a kind of bard, and the multi-classing for all that didn't really work out. I had a whole... Here, I'll show you, actually, if I can find it. A whole list of, like, all of the different classes I thought I could take and maybe try to figure it out. Here, I have, like, I went through every class, or everyone with spellcasting, I think, and maybe also, like, rogue, that, like, is stuff that I could take for Allegra that I thought would be cool. That's the kind of stuff that I think she could do. And then I went through and made, like, an actual multi-class list with different, like, in what I would get at each level. That seems cool to me. But I ended up scrapping that because my DM, also Riley, shout out again, hello, was open to the idea of it. I still haven't, like, gotten the whole thing approved. I don't think the whole thing will be approved because it was very like leaning towards including things as opposed to excluding things. But it was really fun to put that together, to have this whole idea for like what would this kind of new homebrew class be? What are the kinds of stuff that they can do? It was fun working on some themes, seeing what like, because there's almost one thing that's really interesting for me, especially as a player, is that she has almost no directly damaging spells. I don't think there are some stuff that she can like do, like I took like what is it, lightning arrow or like fire arrows from the ranger spell list, where she can like enchant weapons to do extra damage, but like has no fireball, ice beam. That's a Pokemon move. What is it in this one? I forget. But no like directly damaging things off the top of my head. Which like very fun as an idea, and I think totally works with the kind of homebrew class that I'm working on, that we kind of want it to be, but not quite. But like, you kind of need some options in a fight. So that's where I came across the idea of the like summoning spells, the ones that like conjure Fae or conjure Elemental. I was like, okay, that's an interesting way to like indirectly deal damage and still have a big role in the combat. Where and she's all about like sigils and like circles, or for like another example is she doesn't have any teleportation spells that take an action or less. She has like teleportation circle that take like 8 hours to cast, but she can't do like Misty Step, right? And so I want it to be very tactile and physical, this spell list. So that's why I think that some of the conjuring stuff will work, because although I think it does actually just take one action in the game, I can see in my head like all of the different like runes and charms that you would have to know to bring a Fae into the prime material or whatever it is in this world. So I'm excited to see how that turns out. I'm excited to see what spells are kept, which ones are like rejected. Like another one, like for instance, that might get cut is I had Healing Word on the spell list. And we're thinking, maybe she's not a healer. Maybe this kind of class of people in this world don't really know healing spells, which totally makes sense. But it was part of a larger kind of meta cycle, because I wanted to keep the flavor of like a bard in there a little bit, where I included in the spell list every word spell. So power word kill, power word pain, power word stun, healing word, word of radiance, any spell that has word in the title, I thought would be a fun idea to keep. We'll see if that actually like comes in, like, kill your darlings, everything you need, like all that kind of stuff. But I thought it was just a kind of fun, almost like a cycle in Magic the Gathering, to know all of these word spells at different levels. Walls were also a big one. I think that'll be a lot of fun if those stay. Because we do a lot of theater in the mind in this DM's combats, but I think I could use like Wall of Sand, Wall of Fire, Wall of Wind in very fun and exciting ways. Yeah, so it looks like it's going to be some sort of like offshoot of the Wizard class, either like a subclass or, but like because we're limiting the spell list, maybe we'll get some other extra abilities, we'll see. I don't know. It's a very collaborative process, which I'm very excited to keep working on. So yeah, that was the big thing. Number 2 was that whole spell list. I went through level 1 through 9 of every single spell and just based on vibes, see which ones I thought would work and which ones didn't. And the last thing I think that I mentioned earlier about Magic and going through all of the nuts and bolts. Sorry, I've been drifting away from the mic. I got to get back closer. All the nuts and bolts ones is that I want to make a cube. I have no idea how to make a cube, but the very first note that I have in this notebook about design is from Gavin Verhey, and it says, if you're out there hoping to be a Magic designer someday, something I recommend doing is creating a cube. And I've never known what to do to create a cube. I don't own a ton of Magic cards. I have some bulk that my very good friend Alejandro left me before he moved away. I think it would be fun to try to make a cube out of that. I don't know if it'd even be possible, but I think there's enough cards. But what really got me excited, thinking about the idea of Universes Beyond, there were all those big announcements about Wizards of the Coast's next, 3 years in the future. And Universes Beyond is a big part of it, which, I won't get into. I think it's mostly pretty cool. There's some that are weird, but I'll just, ignore them. But I do think that The Legend of Zelda would make a fantastic Universes Beyond for Magic the Gathering. So I'm sure I'm not the first person to ever think of this. But hey, you know what they say about ideas. None of them are original. Some have just been thought of before. Or every idea is original. Some have just been thought of before. That's it. So yeah, I think that'd be a really fun project to work on. And so I'm starting on the initial ideation of what you expect to see in there. You have, obviously Link, Ganon, Zelda. And it'd be really fun to have different versions of them. So you get the Hero of Winds, you get the Hero of Time, you get the Hero of Ages and Seasons, maybe if we want to go that deep. Which creates a lot of different Links. And what does that look like? Are they all the same color? Are they different colors? What color combinations are they? What else is there? There's so many different monsters. There's moblins, bokoblins. There's what are they? Floor crawlers, floor masters, something like that. The hands that come and destroy you. There's the scary zombie dudes from Ocarina of Time. All kinds of stuff. And I think it's equipment. Oh my god, there's gonna be so much equipment in this set. It'll be fantastic. So my plan is to go through a bunch of Magic the Gathering cards, not all of them. It's not like the spell list. There's far too many to be able to actually do that. But make a list of the things I want and try to find stuff that would kind of roughly correlate. And I think it'll be a very successful endeavor. We'll see how it works out. I'll keep you guys updated. Yeah, I think that's about it for this 2 weeks. Again, not much, but I've made the most of the time that I've had. I have been kind of, in my free time outside of work, been kind of a little bit torn is a strong word. I just have 2 hobbies that I really love, which are designing and streaming. And I think for the next little while, I'm going to focus on streaming first. I'm going to be a little bit streaming forward, which just means that the tasks that I do every day for that, I'm going to make sure I get done. And then in my free time, it will be design stuff. So we'll see how much time I have in the future for this. I'm still going to do the design diary every week. I think that there's still going to be a lot of fun stuff to check out. I'm still going to build decks and everything. It's just a hobby of mine that I love. Yeah, I think that's all for now. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks for hanging out. I really appreciate it. Make sure you subscribe. I don't know who would be watching this that is not already subscribed to me, but if you are, I appreciate it. And I will see you later. See you next week. Bye.